So I've been offline for a hot minute and I haven't produced content in quite a while. And I wanted to have a serious conversation with everybody in the room who is of African descent or is African, who is my shade and darker. And I know some of us are even lighter. So anybody from Africa or African descent. Now, at this point of the game, I'm finding it a really hard pill to swallow that some of you are still out here justifying, defending, essentially the dehumanization and the separation of the Palestinian cause from other causes, be it in Africa or globally, but primarily in Africa. And we're going to have this conversation, and you're all going to have to sit in that discomfort. First off, I'd like you all to get a map, and I would like you all to take a look and see where Palestine is located on a map and where it is relative to Africa. First and foremost, now that we've made that incredibly uncomfortable geographical realization, okay? To say the Philistines come here and get to be treated as they are white. Listen, as a Northeast African, I get told all the time that I'm treated white. And as someone once said in my comments who's from the same neck of the woods as I am, they once said, are the people treating us as white in the room? Because we've yet to see them. We've yet to meet them. So who are you saying treats us as white? Unless if you mean that those of you who think that you're more oppressed exclusively due to the pigment of your skin, that somehow, being darker than ours, that somehow this in your mind makes you think that unmelanated people treat us like unmelanated people. So you treat us with the disdain that you have for unmelanated people. That's the only people treating us like white people. It's you who chooses to use anything to play the oppression Olympics at this point, which, by the way, is a product of unmelanated supremacy. Seems counterproductive. I suggest that until you learn the full context of the story of every one of these nations, that you refrain from speaking because you're embarrassing yourself. I suggest that you refrain from speaking until you fully understand the nuances and differences from one situation to another, as well as the nuances in the similarities from one situation to another. Because while you may think you're doing a holier-than-thou situation, cause, speech, I don't know what you want to call them, you're embarrassing yourself. And you're continuing the unmelanated narrative that puts an entire continent as a monolith and a basket. And you're playing into the lie of borders created by colonizers. Sit in that discomfort or don't. But many of us also from the same land with the same experiences, many of us in exile from our lands or having to flee our lands because we've experienced colonization in our African countries. We're just gonna ignore you. Not because we think like unmelanated people, but because we realize that your narrative carries unmelanated supremacy, whether you're comfortable enough to admit it or not. So sit in that discomfort or don't. That's a you problem.